Hello, my name is John Hemingway, and this is Hemingway's Parlay. Today we have as our guest Gemma Álava, who is an artist from Spain but who lives in the Big Apple. Yes. So, Gemma, how's it going?
Hello, John. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here with you today, having a great conversation. And yeah, here I am in the Big Apple, New York City. So it's a very cold day, but it's warm
It,
inside of
it's
the
cold.
house.
It's cold in New York City.
Yeah.
Is there still a lot of snow on the ground and stuff like that? No.
Actually, there's not too much snow this year. I guess it's global warming. I don't know, but it's very cold.
Well, I don't know about global warming because Christina, who's in St. Petersburg, says that there was a lot of snow while she was there. Yeah.
That's true. I miss a little bit the snow, but this year I didn't take the shovel and began to take all the snow away. So yeah, we didn't have to
In New
shovel.
York City, you're near the Gulf Stream, and so it keeps the city warm.
That might be true too.
Anyway, okay, it's good to have you here, and I'm very interested to hear what you've been doing lately. It's with the hexagons, right?
Yes, I'm very happy you're asking me about that project. And it began small and now it's big and it's called Hexagons Global and it's going all over the world.
So you have the how would I say the good fortune to be able to travel all over the world because your husband is a an airline pilot for JetBlue. So yeah.
That's true. That's
So you
true.
really are traveling all over the world and putting these gold leaf hexagons all over, well, in countries all over in South America, Europe, the United States. And what do people think about these hexagons? So what
It's
do they represent, Emma?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I want to say also that most of the hexagons I place when I'm invited to go to the different locations and I may give lectures. And then when I give a lecture, I might be inspired by the place where I am. But it is true that when I am on holidays, right, or I'm traveling in JetBlue, sometimes I might be in a place that nature itself, I feel very moved by the nature, and then I may locate an extra hexagon. So that's very
Well, so
it
you
makes a
always carry one
difference.
around with you because you never know when you're going to be inspired by the nature. Yeah.
That's true. I always carry gold with me. 24 karat gold. It's very very thin. It's gold leaf, so it's not worth millions of dollars, obviously. But yeah, I always carry it with me because you never know when someone or something is going to inspire you. Is going to strike.
What kind of reactions do you get from people when they're walking along and on a sidewalk maybe or a rock or something they see this gold leaf hexagon and they're thinking, oh, I mean, this must be someone's. It's too bad they lost it. Maybe I'll take it.
Yeah, it's
What else do they say?
Well, the last one who kind of took one of my hexagons was a lizard in Guayaquil in
A
Ecuador because
lizard.
they, yeah, I
He
have the
took one of.
photograph because they are very thin. So when I'm going to place them, if there is wind, they can fly. And then the
Mhm,
lizard grabbed it. But once I place them on the floor, they are stuck to the floor. But I
mhm.
love that you're asking me that because this gold in the shape of a hexagon that a hexagon is with the minimum resources to build the perimeter. You can create the biggest area to fill in with something important. To me, I use that as a metaphor for the potential that artists have and also human beings. So I love that you ask me that because when I place this little 24 karat gold hexagon on the floor, you don't know if someone is going to see it, if they're going to recognize it. Most people don't know that I'm an artist and I'm doing an art project, but that's the question.
So
If you
you're doing
see,
it incognito, sort of, like that.
sometimes I do it incognito and sometimes I don't, but the question is, who recognizes not only a gold hexagon on the floor, but who recognizes the potential that we as human beings have? Sometimes we may step over the potential because maybe we're not educated, maybe we don't see, maybe we are too worried thinking of other things, and maybe there is a 24 karat gold hexagon on the floor and you don't see it because you don't look at the floor, right? So I love that question. You have many, many answers to answer that question.
I'd say that another point of view that you could have regarding the hexagons concerns education today in schools and also, especially in universities. Uh, I have been back in the United States now 2 years, and I've noticed that the universities are not quite what they used to be. Yeah. They don't really care about people learning anything for the most part. And
Oh,
I'm thinking it would be nice for them to each of these places, okay, to invite you there with your hexagons and talk about the potential of people, not necessarily the potential of some, I don't know, political ideological battle, but just for everything, for humanity, for being happy, for being free, to be an artist.
yeah.
I think that's a
Uh,
beautiful thing. Yeah.
yeah, it's as you see, it's such a big metaphor that everybody can project and everybody can see different things. But I agree that when we talk about universities, especially we're thinking of universities in the United States because the cost, the price, the money that you have to pay to study a college degree in the United States, it's very expensive. It's so expensive that most
Yeah,
of the
it's
students,
outrageous.
yeah, they need a loan. So this is a fact. And in Europe, for example, in Spain, in my country, it's not so expensive to study and get a degree.
Is
So
is
maybe
it pretty
that's,
much free there? The universities?
well, education, it is a right that you have. So
Hmm.
most of the taxes, well, not most of the taxes, but many of the taxes of the country in Spain, it covers the study college degree. But of course, we don't put so much money. For example, we don't have a huge army, right? The country is smaller,
Yeah,
but
well, yeah,
the
we
money goes to
spend most of our
education.
money on airplanes and bombs and things like
Well,
that. Yeah.
that the money goes to education. But I have to say that there's something positive when education is something that you have to work hard to achieve because you
Hmm.
don't take it for granted. So it is true that when I studied here in the United States, all the students, they were not wasting that much time because they knew they were some a friend of mine said this is the biggest luxury that I have, to put all this money and get this education. So they really take advantage and they you really appreciate education. And it's true that if it doesn't cost you that much, maybe you have great education in Spain and you might not realize what a gift that is because everybody can get the education. So again, you can think positive, negative things of everything. But going back to the hexagons,
Hmm.
yes, we all have a potential to maybe improve, get better, be educated just in the school of life. And I think it's important. I think it's very important what you're doing right now to talk, to have these conversations. So people wonder, people
Well,
question.
strangely enough, I think we both had the same idea uh, because you do the same thing when you're lecturing to people. You don't really sort of tell them what is right and what is wrong. You
Mm.
basically let them come to their own conclusions, I would imagine.
Yeah, because there's really nothing wrong or right. It all depends on the time where you are living. Something that was right or wrong in the medieval times maybe it's different from the time that we're living right now. If you go back to the Aztecs, for them, I mean, I always picture this idea when you had Europeans going to see the sacrifices that were being made on top of a pyramid, that maybe from a European point of view, it was also something very wrong. But if you were an Aztec and you knew that by someone, almost like a fireman, who is giving his life to go into the fire, to save someone, Do you think the fireman is crazy? He's going into the fire, he might die. So sometimes, if you think, if we don't do this sacrifice, everybody else, the whole world will collapse. So that will be a hero. So is it right? Is it wrong? Well, if you give your life to save everybody else, you're a hero from the Aztecs. And it's an offer to die in such an honorable way. But if you're a
Well,
European, it's wrong. So
I would
that's,
say that there's a lot of sacrificing going on right now in the modern world. Entire generations of people are being sacrificed to some kind of new age monster or something. I don't know what. I mean, it's whatever you want to call war as, or you
yeah.
know.
But maybe it all goes back to education, because when I was, teaching art, I always will say about the power of art, because it really can change ideas in human beings. And I say, look how important or dangerous an idea can be, because back in 2001 with um, the Twin Towers, September 11th, the person who was in that plane crashing everything was convinced that he was going to go to heaven. So that education that man, I mean, it's his fault to believe completely that he's doing something the same. In his mind, do you think anyone will crash a plane? Well, if he thinks he's doing the right thing, he's thinking that. Now the question is, how do we end up believing the things that we believe? So, John, this
How
is
do we how
this
do we
is
end up
life
believing
itself.
these? You could call them fairy tales, or you can call them spiritual truths, or destinies of a certain people. Or I don't know. I think that these days there is a movement out there which has been in business, shall we say, for various decades, and it's called the dumbing down of America. Okay. In short, we don't teach people how to think critically. We have taught generations of people that the best thing that they could do was to find the easiest route to wherever it is they wanted to go. Okay. And we're paying the price for that.
Well, everybody's paying the price for that. But when you were saying education, I always think of the sentence that they had in Greece, right? That is, in any school, they had get to know yourself. That's all. First, you have to get to know yourself.
Very
And
important.
yeah, and we go back to the hexagons, because it's get to know what's the potential that you have, get to know what's the unique gift that you have, and you can contribute to the whole world. And maybe you really want to make shoes, but that is not fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
But I know people, their dream, here in New York, they'll say, my dream is to have a little restaurant and just make roasted chickens. And that's something I always wanted to do, and that will make me so happy. And that's what they want to do. And there's a place here in the neighborhood is always full with people. That's not what I feel I want to do, but both things are equally important. And the idea of get to know yourself, I read, I love the idea that we all, humanity, imagine if we, each one of you have, if one of us, each one of us, we have a little gift, and it is all the different thoughts that we have and all the different sensibilities that we have that
Mm-hmm.
makes a whole, like, cake together. No, imagine that the whole humanity, we are able to build, let's say, a body, right? And you are one little cell of the body, or maybe I'm a pinky and you are an index. And it is in these differences that makes us be all together. So when I find someone that thinks differently from me, personally helped me very much. I am intrigued by their differences, because I think they are as important as my opinion. Even if someone is doing something horrible, I'm thinking, well, maybe, there's going to be a transformation here. So I tend to think in what I want to achieve. And that's, I know it sounds crazy, because there are so many things to complain, but I
I
want
think
to be hopeful.
it was my niece Kristen who told me that you were talking about. Um, well, you were giving a talk about how artists can survive in difficult times.
Yeah,
I believe that what it was. In fact,
yeah,
when you talk about, well, expressing your sort of idea of a sort of a utopian world, if you want to, where everyone is giving something to, humanity, to our species, to the cultures that we have and everything. And they might have different points of view, okay? But so long as you don't hurt anyone, you can say whatever you want. Obviously, that is not what is happening these days.
no,
No. And I'm wondering, how have you been impacted by this raging intolerance, which I see?
yeah. I've been very impacted, and I'm going to give you a straight answer that might even surprise you. And I wasn't thinking of talking about this in this podcast,
If you
but
can
it's
speak
true.
up just a little bit, yeah,
Yeah,
into the
I
microphone, yeah.
speak my microphone. Good. I can speak even with more, strength in
Hmm.
my voice.
Yeah.
But there are many challenging and painful and difficult things that we have or to experience or to witness or to go through. I feel very lucky that my reality, I wasn't born, let's say, last year in well, I'm thinking many countries, where could have been that they are being bombed right now, but I'm not there right now. So, for example, right before coronavirus, my sister,
Hmm.
we were so close, great relationship. We were confident. We would laugh about everything, talk about our childhood. Well, in 3 months, she has ovarian cancer and she dies in 3 months, and she leaves two children behind, 8 and 10 years old. So I'm not living right now. I'm not being bombed, but I was able to experience the pain of someone that you are very close to just disappearing. 42 years old. So
This
obviously, as
was
a
this was when?
this was 2019, right before coronavirus.
Oh,
Right
okay.
before coronavirus. So I
Hmm.
have to say that I was, when someone will tell me, oh, someone very close, my parents lost a daughter. And I always try to be empathetic, and I would say, I'm so sorry for the loss, the grief. But it is true that until it didn't happen to me, I was thinking, there's no way. I thought I knew. You don't know. Now, with this experience, I came to terms, and I'm going to say something that I hope is not taken out of context, but go through this deep sorrow and I didn't understand anything. It didn't make sense. It was illogical from I mean, a human point of view, right? Meaning, someone from my tribe is gone, and you are mourning that loss. But it really woke me up to even understand that I learned so much about everybody who's going through something similar, thanks to the experience of losing my sister. So I think I said sister, right? Yeah, daughter
Yeah,
for
your
my
sister.
parents, a sister, yeah. And that experience, I'm very grateful that I was able to expand the understanding of many other people. So I'm actually thinking, well, there's no logic. I'm not going to apply logic, but maybe some people come to this world to wake up others. And it is only when you go through these very horrible moments that you almost lose the horizon and nothing makes sense, when you begin to understand that there is something bigger. And I know it sounds very maybe spiritual. I don't know. I don't know the word. I don't need
It
to
sounds
say the word.
what you're saying sounds at least spiritual. I don't know if that's what you intend to convey, but it certainly
Mm,
sounds spiritual.
I don't know how it sounds, but I thought utopia is good. And there's another quote that I read, and they said, well, why utopia is good if utopia you never approach utopia. You can never reach utopia, because if you say, I want to have 10 millions, let's speak very, money, like 10 millions, and then you're getting close to $10 million, now I want 20 millions, now I want 30 millions, you will never approach that utopia. You can never achieve it. And they say, well, what's good for? And they say, well, exactly for that, to make you keep walking, to put you in movement, to put you in motion. That's why utopia
Hold
is
on.
good.
You're talking about a person who wants more money for his kind of sort of personal utopia.
I use money because I'm sure people, if you're not listening to the podcast, they'll come back right away when they hear $1 million. That's why
Maybe,
I
yes.
said that. Yeah. But yeah, utopia is there. You never achieve utopia, but it makes you put you in motion. So maybe, the death of my sister put me in motion, and to make a choice. I had to make a choice. I could keep complaining and complaining about the pain that I had. I can choose to focus on the pain that we have right now in the earth, which we can, and keep talking. But I choose to see, well, I can experience the pain. How can I put myself in motion? And the hexagons put me in motion. And this conversation is putting people in motion. But yes, of course, there is lots of deaths. There's lots of people that do things don't make any sense to us. But I believe we have to keep being in motion. But that's my choice. Each one of us. I'm not telling anyone what to do.
I mean, you have decided to launch this discovery, this period of discovery, in an extremely volatile period of humanity's existence.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how all of that makes you feel, because you started with the hexagons before, I believe. Okay, it was not something that just happened, with the lockdowns and everything else like that. Okay,
No.
but I mean,
Yeah.
your message is very clear in the sense that everyone has a potential. Everyone has that ability to reach it. Also, even if many people don't think so or had never even considered that possibility, but it is there. And you're saying this, and it can, how would I say, it could be a kind of a modern magic of sorts.
Yeah. I think there's so much to say, John, about everything you are bringing here, because we all might contribute something to this world. And I think you were mentioning that Kristen
Christian,
Jane
yeah, she's always
Hemingway.
sending me pictures of what she's been cooking lately. I think the
Yeah,
last
she's
time she had, no, she did some cookies, and then she also did something with pasta.
yeah. She's well, that's you see, she writes beautifully and she makes great desserts. What a great addition to the world to have a person like that, like Kristen.
But
And
they always arrive to me in these really strange moments, like all of a sudden, oh, Christian's cooking. Yeah,
she's making people
watch out.
happy. I know, it's unbelievable. Yeah, that is true. But maybe that's one, her gifts. Write well and eat well. That's a very good,
You could
dogma.
say hers is a gastronomic hexagon.
Yeah,
Mm.
it is. She actually has a hexagon. We're thinking of where to place the
She's
hexagon. Yeah,
she's
but
thinking, and she's sending out a message which is subliminal, which is, do you have the potential to eat this dish? There you
that's
go.
that is true. Well, maybe do you have the potential to control yourself to not eat a whole cake? Cakes are
Mm.
so
Eat
good,
a eat
but
a whole cake.
you have to
I
not
don't really
eat
know if that's controlling yourself, but anyway.
not eat everything. But going back to the idea of your own potential, that's one of the most difficult challenges I think that are there. And the only way to know what your potential is to go very, very, very deep inside. And I think that's why Kristen sent you that video, which is an interview with great artists. Is Alison Knowles, one of the founders of the Fluxus movement. Her daughter Jessica Higgins, a great artist.
Okay, so that's why you're mentioning Fluxus.
Hmm. Yes,
Okay,
he's
yeah,
the
I was looking
founder.
them up.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's one of the founders of the movement Fluxus, which is, if you think of Fluxus, we think of Heraclito, right? He's the one that said you can never
Hmm.
bathe yourself in the same river. It's always in movement. Life is in movement. The river, the water is in movement, and our lives are in movement. But get to know who you really are, regardless of what's fashionable, not fashionable. That's very difficult. So, education, like you were mentioning, many people say, I want to study this because I will make lots of money. Well, will that be really resonate with you really deep inside? So when you're about to die, I just don't want to say, wow, I didn't live the life I was meant to live. And you have to think what's the life you are meant to live. Again, the fireman may be happy helping people going into the fire and dying. And if he dies, he'll be saying, I was meant to do this. That's very, very difficult, I think. Do you think you are living the life you are meant to live, John? I think so.
I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I would be living this kind of life. Not that I had any uh, pretensions of being, someone who was going to have special treatment. I think life is, you're born and then you bounce and then you keep on bouncing and you get, blows all over the place and good things, bad things, and
Yeah. I
it's how can you really can't sort of have an idea of what the future might be, and you can't predict it. That's it.
no. I like to imagine that every day it's the most important each day is the most important thing that we have. And let's
Very
say I'm
true.
in the subway, and if I see someone, lately I was traveling, and I was in a beautiful, ocean, and I saw a lady, maybe she was 80 years old. She was getting to the water, and her hair was completely so white, and there was so much light with a nice haircut. And she was coming with her husband, I assume. And I told her, I love your hair. What a great hair you have. So beautiful. And the woman had this huge smile in her face, and I just left. I'm never going to see her again. And then I thought, maybe that was my function today, being alive, telling this woman something beautiful, and that's going to create a wave. And maybe I'm not even aware of the positive impact that I am having. And maybe some people feel lonely, or you feel like you are not doing important things because you don't have a podcast, or you don't have you didn't win an Oscar, in
Podcast.
Hollywood.
A
But
podcast is just an excuse for me to talk with my friends who I haven't spoken to for
but
some time.
yeah, but I mean that you are really maybe moving and helping many people by having the energy and make the effort to do this podcast. So this is an effort. You're taking your time, you are inviting people. This is wonderful. And you have that energy and you're transmitting that. But maybe someone feels like, I don't have the energy to do a podcast. I don't Well, maybe you just change the life of 5 people by smiling to them in the subway, or maybe waving
This
at
is
them
true.
through your window. You don't know the impact that you can have. And if you if you tell people you don't need to be shown, it's not so much for your ego to feel like you are doing something right. You might be doing amazing things right, and you might not know about it. So that's a beautiful message. I like that. I like that.
Well, yeah, it's a bit like when they say it's sweeter to give than to receive something. In the end, you
Yeah,
give, and that makes you feel good. I mean, if you're human, and if you have compassion, uh, and it can surprise you too. It's like you were saying about how it's a kind of an energy, which is set free every
yeah.
time you touch a person in that way. And you feel it and they feel it, and it's a sort of a
Mhm.
chain reaction. You're right.
Yeah, so maybe that's part of the education. And we always laugh about this anecdote, right? About the superior energy. Because
Yeah,
many,
the superior energy. This is what Christina said. You need to talk with Gemma because there is superior energy there.
Yeah, the superior energy. But this is such a beautiful story to tell and to share. Speaking of what you might say to someone, it might change their life. And
True.
it's the story which actually it's in Spanish online, and there's the photograph of me with this shaman from Santa Marta, right in Colombia. They are Cogis.
I'll
They're
have to
very
have a look at
interesting
that. I
now.
wasn't able to find it, but I was very curious
Yeah.
about how is you were with 4 or 5 shamans.
Well, I met different shamans wherever I travel. I don't know how it happens. That I talk to people that they don't really say they are shamans because you don't go out there saying you're a
They're
shaman.
spiritual people,
Yes, they're very spiritual people. And
like
it's
Don Juan, and the peyote and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, but
Castaneda.
mhm, mhm. But they came and began to talk to me because I will tell them about my project Hexagon as an artist. That I don't know if I mentioned to you this here or in another conversation that we had.
What was that? Ooh, something happened here. Hmm. Well, let's hope that Gemma gets back on. Damn. Uh, hmm. Such is life. Okay. Let's see if she comes back. Yeah.
Everything did could you see me
Mm-hmm.
or not? Everything completely disappeared. Did you see that all disappeared? Like my
Yeah.
computer went blank.
You
So
can.
I don't know if this is still recording or not.
Well,
But
okay. I was saying a few things like I was hoping that she's okay and everything else.
well, it just got blank. Speaking of superior energy,
Yeah, well, maybe that
the
was a
whole thing
sign,
crashed.
from one of the shamans. Like you've got to hang in there, Hema, and listen to this Hemingway guy. It might help the world.
Wow. So no, you didn't go away because I completely went away. I even put in my last name. I was able to put the tilde. So I really lost
Hmm.
everything, and I cannot believe this is. It keeps recording. Well, this is fantastic. We were talking about superior energy, and this is what happens. Speaking of which,
Yeah, someone who had a
but
lot of superior energy decided to really throw us a screwball, I'd
I
say.
don't know. No, but okay. I remember what I was telling you. That I will talk about my project, which I even moved the camera, right? Where are my hexagons? They're in the back. And I will tell them my
You
project
were
as
talking
an
about your
artist.
project. Yeah, and you were talking about a shaman who had mentioned something about that, and that's when the superior energy kicked in, and boom, Hema was gone.
Yeah, and then put the superior energy did something. But now, jokes apart, that's the interesting part. I did this project because a museum was inspired in one of my other projects, and it felt devastating for me. So it was very difficult to see that sometimes if you have an accent or if you have a different nationality, they may tell you, sorry, we love the project, but it's better if we have someone from another country. I was told this literally. We won't go there. I wrote a book about all this. But I wanted to say it doesn't matter if they step on me. I'm gold. We artists are gold. You want to step on me? Go for it. Step on me. And that's how I came up with the idea of putting gold on the floor. So the origin of these projects, it wasn't nothing. It had nothing to do with shamans. But funny enough, when I will begin to tell the story of the golden hexagons, which is based on the bees, it seems like it's very spiritual. I didn't know it. So when I will explain this, then some people will tell me, wow, who is telling you about these amazing ideas? Or whenever I travel to many places, like you said, my husband is a pilot, so I get to go to places that maybe people don't go every day. They will tell me, how do you know where to place the hexagon? These are places that have so much energy. And I would laugh. And I would say, no, I'm an artist. There's nothing really spiritual here. I just, I travel and I
So the
feel
shamans were saying that
happiness.
the hexagons have so much energy.
They were saying that I was explaining concepts that were very spiritual. And I was saying, no, no, really, I'm not. I was just frustrated and I was just trying to survive in the art world. But then I began to read what they were telling me that I was doing, and they were right. Now, the beautiful thing about the superior energy is, which we all have superior energy. Of course, we all have superior energy. That's what I know now, right? We all have the ability to change the energy of a room if we go with a positive attitude. Or maybe I can make this podcast to be more alive just by the choice of my words and the energy that I'm putting when I talk to you, John. But the funny story is, this is when everything got crashed, that we were in a gathering, and there were two shamans, Kogi from Santa Marta. And if everything collapses again, I'll
Where
stop
was
talking
this?
about this.
In which country
It's in
was this?
Colombia. In
Oh, in
Colombia.
Colombia. Okay.
There is this amazing place in Santa Marta. I've never been there. I want to go, where the Kogis live. The Kogis is the shaman Kogi is called Mama, and they go when they are little. They are selected, and they spend, I believe, 7 years. They live inside of a cave, and when they are inside of a cave, living there, I think they go at night. They drink water and they go with their mothers in the cave. So they say that you are really aware with who you really are, your consciousness, or maybe you get to know your full potential.
So let me get this straight. These shamans go into a cave with their mother? Is that what you said?
They say that they go with their biological mother when they are little. I think they are 7 years old, and they learn to live inside of a cave. It's an experience. So they are not left alone. Yeah, it's interesting. There is
Okay.
a documentary. But I went to see them, and everybody was saying, the shamans are here. You feel amazing when you get to, give their hands. And I was saying, just leave the shamans alone. They are not pets. I wanted to respect them. I didn't want to go and shake their hands. But my friends were telling me, why don't you go and shake their hands? So, okay. I said, okay, I'm curious now. And I remember they spoke Spanish. And I hold their hands. I didn't feel anything. And I laughed and I said, everybody's saying that if I hold hands, we just feel, right, something. Aren't you tired of them? Aren't they being too, you know, it's, no, this is New York. And they laughed and they said, yeah, but what can we do? They were so patient. So I joked and I said, so what? Do you feel really good energy? And they said, yes, you have very good energy. And I joked and I said, well, you bet. Because just to be in New York City, if you don't have good energy, you don't survive here. And they laughed, right? And then they joked and they said, no, you have superior energy. They just said that. So, and then they hugged me and they said, you have very good energy, you have superior energy. So what did we do after that? We kind of were joking about, oh yeah, I have superior energy. And I was laughing and I was thinking, well, but when someone tells you, which maybe John, I can tell you, you have superior energy, John. Look
Well, I
how
don't.
amazing.
This is amazing because I don't live in New York City. I live in
But
Jacksonville. I don't know how much energy you need, but
yeah, but this is similar to me telling the woman, I love your hair. So now maybe she's happy and she walks with, wonderful feelings because she thinks her hair is beautiful. When someone tells you you have superior energy, we all human beings have superior energy, obviously. If we have the choice. Someone dies close to you, you have that superior energy of keep going, even if there is a challenge. But it cannot change my life, because it doesn't matter if it's true or not. Look, the impact that funny sentence had on me. Amazing. So we are even talking about that moment with you here in this podcast. And maybe I should tell everybody, you have superior energy. Because that made me want to investigate. And what is he talking about? What's the superior energy? They were very um, spiritual concepts, right? When they talk about superior energy, they were talking about that we all sometimes, even people who are from different religions, when they read the Bible, they say God has different mysterious ways to achieve something. And it's true, sometimes in life you think you want to go one way and life takes you to the other way. But sometimes if you really want to achieve something, there is a coincidence and you end up being where you wanted to be. So maybe that is the superior energy, to believe in yourself. Maybe that's all that there is to it.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely.
But
Why
look,
not?
a simple sentence, and it made me want to keep going with my hexagons. But I think what they refer to, which now that we had this conversation, when I did, actually is here behind me, this painting with the
Mhm.
hexagons. I had by serendipity some maps from airports, and I love the lines of the maps, blueprints. So I
Okay.
wanted to place the hexagons that I place all over the world, like the blueprints, almost as if you're going to construct something, right? And when I placed the hexagons and I began to make the paintings, I was reading about the bees. There are so many metaphors, and the bees take care of the whole beehive with pheromones. And I love the idea that with pure pheromones, you can, maintain equilibrium or balance in your beehive, maybe the human beehive. And I look at these pheromones, the chemical structure, and they look like constellations. And I thought, oh, wow, this is like the stars. I love this
Well,
idea.
I would say that we have a lot of things in common with the bees.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have read different papers on how, in fact, people do communicate just by shaking a person's hand. Okay.
Yes.
And it has we exchange biological information doing that.
Yes. Pheromones.
Yeah.
It's all pheromones. They say that you are attractive to, I mean, this is common knowledge, I think, no? You're attracted to a person because of pheromones, because what's in the other person in your DNA actually complements or is good for your own DNA.
You were talking also before about the the pandemic and the lockdowns and how everyone was supposed to be separated from everyone else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that is the thing that would keep people not safe. In fact, what they should be doing is to test, their bodies with their ability to sort of fight off these, well, in some cases, the flu or whatever, but also just being with other people strengthens us.
Oh, you mean build immunity?
Immunity,
Uh,
yes, of course. Our
yeah.
immunity is strengthened just simply by the mere presence of another person or just talking with that person. And again, we come back to the similarities between Hemingway's Parley and the hexagons. Because what are we doing? We're having a conversation constantly with the hexagons, with the shamans who are saying, this is superior energy. This woman may sound as if she's loca, but she isn't. Okay, she's expressing very interesting ideas for these men from South America, you know?
Hmm.
And it's something that enlightened you and enlightened them and enlightens me at the same time. So,
Hmm.
and hopefully, um, once I manage to sort of fix the glitch that happened in the middle of this thing, okay, the people who are watching this video will be inspired, to go out and to have another conversation and to be the best they are. And, and it all started with Gemma. Or did it? Or who did it start with?
Well, and remember, everything began because of a very hard moment.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm even grateful for the people who copied my project. Extremely grateful. Without that difficulty, I wouldn't have the chispa, no, the
Mm-hmm.
spark to do something about it. So
Well, you
grateful for
did.
good things and bad things. You learn from everything. Yeah.
I'd say. Yeah. So, basically, how did you survive the pandemic and the lockdowns? I read
Well,
the Spanish version of it and everything, but I think people would like to sort of maybe hear your experiences because they might be similar to what they experienced.
yeah. Well, what I did, I'm thinking now, it's I didn't want to be inactive. So I began to read The Little Prince by Saint-Exupéry
Oh, wonderful book.
online. Yeah, I began to read that every day. I will take a chapter and I will read it, which has to do with planets and stars, right? And I was writing. I began to write the memories I had from my childhood with my sister.
Oh.
Yeah, and I built the whole blog of Hexagons, hexagonsglobal.com.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that as an opportunity to do things I could never do before. Mm, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. There was a point that, yeah, I was thinking, am I crazy? Why am I reading The Little Prince? Why am I writing about my childhood? But it was a way of grieving my sister's death, obviously. But now I'm very proud I did that. So maybe everybody had to reinvent the way they were doing things. And many of us, we had to deal with grieving um, dear
Reading,
ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing, because you're totally ensconced in this world that the author has created for you, and yet everything is different to everyone who will ever read that book. And so it's a very individual thing to do, but at the same time, it's a kind of a collective learning, if you will.
Yes, a collective learning. And I just want to mention that um, the, the the chemical structure that look like constellations, that's what I came up with the idea. And this is what the shamans were telling me because I thought, oh, look how interesting. These hexagons I put in floors, but if I turn this painting around, it looks like a sky with stars and constellations. So I love the idea that we, even if we're a step over, we can just go all the way up to the sky. So I was making paintings of that. I want to do constellations with all the hexagons on the floor. And that's the spiritual part that the shamans were telling me. And I was saying, no, no, it's just it happens to be blue. I just like the idea. And now I understand. It's maybe we think we are being silly and crazy and nonsense. And look, maybe we're building something very important that is beyond what we do here, me in New York City. Maybe it has to do with a bigger awareness. And that's, I think, what the shamans were referring to. Maybe we all are shamans.
This is true. This is true. And I would say that this is a moment in human history which will, you know, definitely change the world one way or the other, good or bad, we don't know. But the mere fact that all of us are living through this
Mm-hmm.
is going to change us. And we're going to change the world with our energy and with our superior energy and with our ideas and conversations. All of these things, I would say, are going to change this planet.
Yeah, that's why I said, yes, let's have a conversation. Let's see where the conversation takes us. We didn't have anything planned. We're just, look how beautiful this is, John. Just to take the risk to record a whole conversation, putting your guard down, and I'm trusting completely that you're going to ask me anything you want. And this is amazing, but very unique. Who does this? Even when you meet with someone in a coffee shop, who really puts their guard down and begins to say everything that comes to your mind without judgments, without thinking what's right or what's wrong. So thank
That
you for
is what is
allowing me to
needed.
do this.
Absolutely,
This
yeah.
is brave. You have to be brave. I got my little thing. Put my hair like this. But at the end, I'm thinking it doesn't matter how I look. What matters is maybe the energy with, the way I'm saying the things that I'm saying. And I don't even know what I'm saying, but I'm saying something. So we just have again to do
You
something like
certainly
you.
are, Gemma. Yes.
So thank you. Thank you for creating these spaces. If more people create these spaces, this is what's going to keep us not throwing ourselves through a window. Seriously,
Mhm.
there are so many people who commit suicide. The numbers are crazy, so high that spaces like
There's a
this
lot.
fill you
There's a
up with
lot of
energy.
desperation out there, but at the
Yes, a
same
lot.
time, I see a movement which is pushing back against this darkness. And
Yes.
you see it all over the world. It's not just here. It's everywhere. It's in Europe. It's in the United States. It's in Canada. It's in South America. It's in Russia. It's China. I'm sure that the Chinese too have their own version of this. Okay,
Yeah.
we're
Is
free
that why?
people. That's it. In our hearts and in our minds, we're free people. And
Oh.
we're going to let those who are, shall we say, trying to sort of, do us to make us do whatever the hell we want, whatever they want, rather,
Mhm.
we're going to sort of stop them. We don't know how that's going to happen, but it will happen.
Yeah. Eh, Is this why you wanted to do also your podcast? Because I think you are generating lots of hope and superior energy, right?
There has to be this. I mean, yep, many people are dying because of horrible things that the so-called elite have decided to do, but they won't win this. They won't win it because of the human spirit, which is stronger than anything that they can put out there. Oh, they'll keep trying. Yeah, they're psychopaths, but um, they don't have the superior energy, the spiritual energy, and what's more, the shamans are not on their side. When you've got the shamans on your side, it's a very good sign.
Well, it really helped me when I was doubting. I was thinking, well, I guess if a shaman is telling me I'm doing the right thing, I guess I have to keep going. So look how silly that might be, but when things were so difficult with coronavirus, maybe we all were trying to grasp to those beautiful or encouraging sentences that someone told us. So in those very difficult moments, those sentences that they were said and they seemed silly, they make you keep going. And that's why I think we should be kind to other
Yeah,
people because it's
kindness,
so
kindness,
powerful.
kindness.
Kindness, it's
Absolutely.
so powerful. So yeah, that sentence kept me going. And now I can't even talk about it. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, they actually have a point. But let's be kind.
Kindness, humor, you
And
know,
humor. Yeah,
yeah,
we have
laughter.
to laugh, to raise they say the vibration, no? You see, I'm learning a lot of things from the shamans. And they talk about that when you are happy, you vibrate higher. Actually, in Colombia or in many countries that have the Andes, when they, instead of saying good luck, they say buena vibra. Like, I'll give you good vibration. Almost like the movie, good
Buena ritmo.
vibration,
Okay.
vibra,
Oh,
vibra,
vibra.
vibra.
Buena vibra.
It's
Okay.
something they say. Buena vibra, good vibration.
And then they
And I was
hand you something.
thinking,
Yeah, you can use this.
no, it's just like ciao. Instead of saying ciao, they say buena vibra. And now I'm thinking, oh wow, maybe that comes from just have good energy. That's all. That's one of the most challenging things, John, when you want to just complain about everything, and instead of complaining, you think, okay, stop it. Let's be grateful for what you have. What do I have? I may only have oxygen to breathe. Well, bless the oxygen that I can breathe,
Yeah.
Begin with something.
Well, I'd say that Gemma Álava is picking up good vibrations like the Beach Boys,
Well, thanks to you. You made me think about it. So, what are you grateful for, John? What are you grateful
What
for?
am I grateful for? The fact that I'm in Florida. Um, the fact that I have a lovely and very talented and full of buena vibras, as you would say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
wife, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
And my dog's a pretty good dog too, although occasionally he likes to chew up all the pillows that he can find. And so, I was having a bit of a crisis with him yesterday, but he's a good dog. Labradors, they want to know everyone. Okay, they're a bit
Mm-hmm.
like canine hexagons, if you will. They just want to see everyone, make friends with everyone. Yeah,
Yeah. There is so much we can learn from animals. That's pure love right there. It's unconditional love. Everyone who has a pet, they know.
yeah, they do.
Yeah,
And when he knows he's done something bad, he knows also that I still love him.
of course. Of course.
Because he's a dog. That's why.
Yeah, so much to
Anyway,
learn.
Emma, I'd like to thank you. And I'm sure that the audience, if they could, would thank you too. And they will, with tons of likes eventually.
Yeah, and
And I shall be looking into this, more into the hexagons, more into the flukes as well. The flukes, that was an amazing sort of thing, what they were doing there. It is not
mm-hmm.
the end work, the end of the art, the end product, shall we say, but the art process itself, which is the important thing. Just true. I think about writing, yes, when the book is over, so to speak, when I finished it,
Mm-hmm.
it's important. But the best part of it for me is writing it every day.
Yeah, yeah, it's like what
And with
makes.
that, we're going to close this episode of Hemingway's Parlay with our lovely guest, Gemma Álava.
Thank, thank you so much. Thank you.
And yeah, it'll be up pretty soon. And we'll have it up on YouTube there. Everyone can look. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.